So, here we go. Our apple. So I'm gonna leave it up on the screen like this so you can see me paint it first. How many of you like grab a brush, start to work, set it down, can't remember where you put it? This happens to me a lot. Alright, so I'm gonna start off with a little bit of alizarin crimson. I'm gonna create a little pile of green. So I'm coming in with a little bit of green on one side of my pile of crimson. I should set up a second camera so y'all can see my paint. And then I'm going to come in with my yellow ochre on the top. So what I have, if you can't see it, is a pile of, and you can't see it because of the glare, but I have a crimson, yellow ochre, and a little bit of green. Okay, that's my working pool of what I'm getting ready to work with. And getting the apple perfect is not as important right now as working on your transitions and your color. Our transitions and our we want to save some for highlights. So I'm going to come up here, and remember, we want this to be kind of fresh. We want it to be a less than so it's not going to be perfect, right? So that was my dark, right? So in one swipe, I went after all my darks.
Wait a second, that doesn't look like my crimson.
Is that just alizarin crimson? That's the camera.
Permanent alizarin crimson.
I don't think we have that in our book.
We do, we got it right here. Terry said to get it, we have it.
Yeah, that's what I'm using. All right, so now I'm going to come around and I'm going to do my midtones, and so I'm taking some pigment out of my brush, and I'm watering it down a little bit, and I'm going to go for my midtones. And I'm going back in and I'm charging a little bit to get this outer edge because I want it to be a little darker. Now I'm going to come in, add a little bit of my yellow into my red.
Could you have started with your lightest color first, like we're doing the face, and then we'll put layers over it?
So this is an example of where I just charged into a dark with a light, and I got the effect I was looking for, right? We are taught over and over again, oh, you got to go light to dark, you got to go light to dark. So the next one we'll start off with the light and we'll go into the dark, all right? But I wanted to show you that I can create this effect pretty well without doing that. Now, since I have my green out, since I have my red out, I'm going to add a little green to it, and I'm going to go for kind of a grayish shadow, but I'm going to use my green and my red to make me a shadow.
You mix the two, you did?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're opposite ends of the colors. They'll make them neutral. And tell me again why we're using such a big blush.
Because we want we want this to look fresh, and we want to learn brush control without using a tiny brush. We want to accomplish this in as few strokes as we can. This is a whole lot like our flower that we did on the first day. Remember? So we're trying to accomplish this in as few strokes as possible. Now I did that, and I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to grab a little more green, a little more red, and I'm going to make myself a dark stem.
Let's see the stem.
And I ran out of green.
It's because of the big brush.
Yeah, it's the big. She hates biggies.
I didn't wait enough for it to dry, but that's okay. I don't mind. What I'll do is I'll just go back in here and add some of my darks.
Red? You don't like red? Brown. You don't want green in it? Green, that makes it brown.
Does kind of make it brown.
Yeah.
All right. So now I can come back in here with a separate brush. It's just wet, and I can go over the edges of this and soften them up a bit. If I want, I can pick up a little back here, make it look a little bit more like. All right, try it. See what you do. If you're not working at an angle, get at an angle. Got to get at an angle. Big brush strokes. As few as possible.
Oh, look what happened to mine.
What happened?
I don't know.
I didn't see. Yeah, so that's dry brush. That means you don't have enough water on your brush. That's so if you get what looks like, well, dry brush looks like dry brush. I don't know how to describe it. Hold it up so everybody can see it, Pat.
Oh, I fixed
Oh, you already went over it? Yeah. So I'm putting out a little more green on my palette.
My brush is too big. I don't know how to do that.
Look how big. Nobody could say it's a big brush. Look at mine. Okay, yours is pretty big. That's okay. You can use a big brush. If you want, I'll do my next one with that
I
brush.
have another one.
Then we're gonna go in with some red and green.
I'm gonna have to change, well, my shadow because I ran out of space.
It's okay. So did I.
I don't know about this. Why does mine look like crap? It's because
I
Terry's
don't
a
think I have
teacher.
enough pigment. That's what my problem is.
What does that mean?
I put enough on my palette. I'm gonna pick up enough, I guess.
I made plenty with this one.
So I'm going for a little bit of reflective light here, and I'm going to pick up some of the pigment right along the edge of this apple on the underside. Gives it a little bit of reflective
Just
light.
listed paint for
Reflective
that.
light. Second one. But I'm going to use this Chinese brush here, and we're gonna experiment with it a little bit. So the cool thing about this brush is it can do a lot of different things. Number one, it's goat hair, okay, which is very different than most of our brushes are either synthetic or they're mimicking squirrel hair. Some of them are sable hair, but goat hair is a little more coarse. It holds a ton of water. It holds a ton of pigment, and it can get really wide and it can get really narrow. So it can do it. So this one brush can do everything from flat brush techniques to round brush techniques to a wide variety of things. So again, I'm just going to come up here and I'm going to be a little bit more finessing this time. And I'm going to start my apple.
I like this.
What brushes on you?
Huh?
What brush are you using?
Number 10.
I don't have the number 10.
Looks like a red jack-o'-lantern.
I can see that. I can see it.
See how I can charge into this with a yellow and it works, right? I don't have to, I should have gone the light color first, just like I said I was going to do, but I forgot about it. But we'll do that on the next one. So I'm trying to not be fussy. I'm trying to just do this as with as few strokes as I can get away with. And
So you're doing this the same as the first one, actually?
no, I'm being a little bit more, I'm putting more strokes into this for sure. I'm being a little more deliberate. But I am definitely not, still using a big brush. I'm still using as few strokes as possible. I'm just being a little more deliberate. I used a gigantic brush the first time and went for zero detail.
And what yellow are you using?
This is just yellow ochre.
Yellow.
How are you getting that color so dark, Terry?
Uh,
Are you just really using green and red?
I just put in some neutral tint on this
Okay, thank you. Saved my life.
one. was I? But this one over here is just green and red. Just green and red. Okay. So my shadow is convincing. I have some color variations. I have some highlights. I'm going to pick up a little bit right along the edge and create my reflection light. Don't mess with it. As I mess with it.
Nah.
Okay, I need to go on to the next one.
That's what I like about it. It's always the next one. Okay,
Can't get it around.
what do you think of that?
Looks good.
That's lovely.
You change brushes too.
Yes, I'm changing brushes because I'm doing a different technique. I'm just using what I have been doing, and I need a little bit more control. All right, so first things first, I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna do everything but my whitest whites, and I'm doing my yellows.
Is he making a yellow apple?
That's yellow?
Yeah, this is it's got a little bit of maybe have a little bit of alizarin in it, but not much. This is yellow.
You making a yellow apple?
No, I'm starting with my lightest values first in this color.
Thick. You're putting it on pretty thick.
Yeah, putting it on pretty thick. But I'm going to go over it in red, so it's not going to show through as much as you think.
So you're not putting it all over, you're just
Nah,
putting it where you see.
I'm putting it where I want some yellow to show through on the apple, basically. Now I'm going to go in with my red and
You're again going to the darkest dark from very light, and then you're going to do the mid-tones last.
yeah, I'm going to blend them. And here I'm doing my midtones. So notice I'm letting it diffuse into itself. I'm not trying to create any kind of... But this is where you're going to see me do this, like especially on the portrait, where I start with a lightest layer and then go to a mid-tone layer and then go to a darker layer, but I'm also the whole way going to be mixing darks, mid-tones, lights, and getting them to transition. Right? That's the goal.
I'm having a hard time following this one.
Oops.
I had a good time painting at that party the other night.
That was.
That picture was amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Where did we see that?
It was at East Beach, the party. I posted it on my Facebook page and on my Instagram. So keep that in mind. If y'all throw big parties and you want something kind of different, go in an artist.
Wow, that's interesting concept. Were you drinking wine with them like they do at those wine drinking painting parties?
No, I was painting.
You were seriously painting.
Okay.
Now, I did have a beer at the end of it. But, you know, I pretty much stayed painting. It was kind of a fun crowd, but a little different than my normal crowd.
So were you invited specifically to paint?
Yes, I was asked to come there and paint. Nope, I just saw a party and I decided I'm gonna crash it.
Then it was friends of theirs or something and Well, I'm gonna have a party, Pat.
So
I'm gonna
the-
invite you.
The
As the artist.
the chairman of the board of the art center hosted the party, and she invited me to come and paint.
That's fun.
Yeah, it was a good time. Good time had by all.
You must be using a lot of paint. I can't get it that dark.
Yep,
Yeah,
very little water,
in my tubes.
All right, guys. Different version of the same thing, but my next apple. And I probably put more into this one than I put into previous ones. It's still wet, so I'm kind of working some wet into wet now to darken it up as I go. Because I kind of want this a little bit darker.
Just can't get my browns that dark. I use that green. That's the difference. Is that green?
So notice I just picked up some pigment, right? And that's perfectly fine. You know, you don't have to, as you're going, I just picked up some more. See how I did it? I created a thirsty brush, picked up the pigment where I wanted there to be some light.